Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. Well, as you see in the title, it clearly says that I have finally completed my associate in arts degree. Like I've told people before, for those of you who don't know me, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist, and I like to do live vlogs at least once or twice a week, preferably once a week. And before I completed my degree, I generally was only YouTubing once a week, and that was it. Well, now that I'm done with my degree, I could actually film almost every day if I really wanted to. Though I would prefer to YouTube on my days off, which I'm trying to only take one day off a week if possible. But if I absolutely have to take 2 days off a week, that's fine. Like next week, I'm going to be taking Sunday off for the Gospel to Every Home outreach ministry that my church is involved in, as well as next Wednesday because I have a dentist appointment. And then after that, I'm going to be meeting with my worship leader that afternoon to basically help me grow more as a future pastor or even a biblical counselor, which is something that we're leaning towards. So I might be done with my associate's degree. So for those of you who are wondering what is next for me, and that is to continue working with my worship leader, which I've actually already been doing. And we're currently looking at putting me in a special school to learn to become a biblical counselor this fall to see if that's the right fit for me. Because as of right now, he really feels like that's where God's leading me, and I have to agree with him on that one because I've been getting a lot of hints from God that biblical counseling might be the right path for me to follow. So I guess as of right now, that'll be my next step. Also, he's thinking about putting me as a small group leader, my worship leader, that is. And we'll see how that goes. So I just wanted to give you guys that update. I'm super excited about that. Well, I'm going to give you guys a brief history about my associate's degree. I started when I was 20 years old working on my associate's degree. I'm 28 now. So I don't know how many of you guys are going to be watching this and be, say, for example, 20 years old. And you don't have to actually put down in the comments or anything. I'm obviously, it's subscriber mode only if you want to comment. For those of you who are new to my live stream and you happen to come across my live streams and you notice I turn on subscriber mode only. I did that because of the fact that I was getting too many non-subscribers who were linking pornography websites onto my live stream and my YouTube videos for that matter. And I've done away with that because I've asked nicely enough to the point where I'm just fed up with it. So I have said that's it. From now on, I'm only allowing subscribers to comment on my live streams from this point forward because I'm so tired of removing pornography websites. This is a Christian G-rated YouTube channel, not a place for people to attach their pornography websites just because they want to mock my YouTube channel. If you want to mock a YouTube channel, go and do that to another YouTube channel. But honestly, at the same time, we really should be doing that anyway because it's not Christian or biblical. And you should especially not be doing it to a Christian YouTube channel, especially a G-rated one. And there's very few of those these days. Very few. I did a poll on that, and I found the majority of YouTube channels these days are PG. I'm G, so I want to keep it that way. But anyhow, my associate's degree started when I was 20 years old, and it started when I was living in Central Florida. I technically was supposed to be done with my associate's degree in 2017, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Now, I'm not going to go over every single class I've ever done because that would take way too long, but I want to give you guys a brief history about my associate's degree, but I will at least tell you guys the very first few classes. And I first want to tell you guys why I started to pursue my associate's degree in the first place, in case you've never heard before, in case you're interested. I started pursuing my associate's degree on January 8th, 2014. That was the very first day of my college classes. But what led to that, you might wonder? This chair is making way too much noise. I completed high school June 4th, 2013, on a Tuesday, for that matter. I remember my graduation day very well. I remember we were rehearsing, and they gave me the false impression that we were supposed to rush, and they made it sound like we were supposed to rush through the thing as fast as we possibly could. Now, I took that literally, so they did not tell us at the last minute, oh, by the way, change of plans, we're no longer doing that. So I was one of the very first people to go, if I remember correctly, and I stuck to the plan. I stuck to what I was told, and I literally walked through the door, and I flung it open so fast, I almost hit one of my classmates in the face, and nobody said a word. Nobody yelled out to me, slow down, or anything. I was shocked. And I sped walked down that entire thing, and my dad's trying to get it on camera, and he was like, so unfortunately, there's no YouTube video of me walking down the aisle for my high school graduation because I was misinformed. But that's okay, because you get to watch me walk down the aisle to receive my pretend associate's degree, but we'll get to that later. So anyway, to make a long story short, I was the salutatorian of my high school graduation class of only 4 people. And I was also the one that gave the valedictorian speech, because the valedictorian did not want to give the speech. So yeah, it was a weird graduation, to say the least. So like most normal high schoolers, what did I do after my high school graduation? I just kept working. I was like, well, I really don't want to go back to school right now. So I knew that one of the very first things that I needed to start working on was learning how to drive. My dad was kind of working with me on that, but my parents knew the best thing for me to do was to literally get me signed up for like a driving school. So they took me down to Winter Haven to this place called Atlantic Driving School. It's in downtown Winter Haven. And I come in there, and they're like, so you need to take like this 3 or 4 hour drug and alcohol test. And I said to them, you know what's funny? I took a class just like that through Florida Virtual School, which is an online school, by the way. And I'm like, does that exempt me from taking this course? And they're like, well, we're going to have to see your transcript to prove it to us. I was like, all right. So I had to go back home, of course. And I came back another day with the paperwork, and I showed it to them. And then they looked at it really carefully, and then were like, all right, you don't have to take the course now. And I was like, yes. Because I took that course like over a period of like several weeks. I don't remember exactly how long. So I spent the next month or 2 learning how to drive, and eventually I was driving on my own. Now, trust me, I was a horrible driver when I first drove, but honestly, all of us were. But a lot of young drivers also have the notorious habit of saying, I consider myself a good driver. Trust me, you're not. I have been driving for, let's see here, 9 years almost, and I'm still not a good driver. I guess you could say that I'm a somewhat good driver, but I don't even consider myself a good driver. Compared to my dad, no. But here is the good news. If you were to ask me, when was the last time you had an accident, David? Like being in the car in an accident. I would more than likely tell you guys about 5 years ago, I ran my car into a pole and I put a big dent on the front right side of my car. But nobody was hurt. No other cars were involved. That was the last time I literally got into an accident. I mean, the other two times I got into an accident after that was up here. One time was at a gas station, and I wasn't even in the car at the time. And the other time, I was sitting at a red light, and someone came and ran me from behind, but no damage was done. Well, while I was working at Publix, like after the whole driving thing, I figured you guys should know all that. Not that it really matters or anything. I had a strange conversation with a customer one day, and she's just started throwing me under the bus and giving me a hard time, like why I wasn't in college or anything. And I was telling her how I had already graduated from high school. When are you going to go to college? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, at this point, my brother had already gone back to school. My mom had already gone back to work. My mom's a teacher. She's an elementary school teacher. My dad and I were the only ones hanging around. I mean, my dad was working for Walt Disney World at the time, but he was off certain days of the week. And I was only just working at the time. And I was okay with that. And she just started giving me the hardest time. And I was like, really? But it kind of bothered me. And I kept getting it over and over again from people. Well, eventually I started really thinking about it. I was like, well, I guess I really do need to go back to school. And I looked into Polk State College. I had known about Polk State College for quite some time. And I went down to the Lake Wales campus, which was only about 2 miles away from my house. Now, granted, I could not yet drive by myself, as far as I know. I think I could, but I wasn't that good yet. So we'll just go with that. I could drive by myself legally, but I wasn't that good yet. I preferred not to. And I also didn't have my own car yet, so I had to borrow a car. So I went down to Polk State College that fall before my birthday, before I turned, let's see here, it was 2013, so 1993. I was about 18 at the time. So I went and took basically a college entry test called the PERT, not the shampoo. I don't want to confuse anybody. And I sucked so badly at the math portion of the test. And then the reading portion, if I remember correctly, was actually the one I did the best at, which I found kind of odd. And then the English portion, I did not do well on either. I was like, what? So the very first 3 classes that I signed up for before I became an actual official student were all what they call remedial classes, which basically means it's not taken for credit. It's just to get you on the level of a college student. So I was like, okay. Well, unfortunately, my college orientation, which basically is everything you need to know about becoming a Polk State College student or just a college student, happened to take place on my 19th birthday that year. I was livid. Who wants to go to a college on your 19th birthday? These days, I really don't care. But when I was a teenager, I did care. I mean, a lot has happened in just a decade. I mean, I don't know if everybody feels this way. I mean, come on, TJ may not be my friend anymore, but he just turned 28, and he still treats his birthday like he's 5 years old, which is sad. But at the same time, he does have worse autism than I do. Versus these days, like, let's just say my birthday for last year. All I did was go to IHOP that morning by myself. I did a little grocery shopping. Then my brother was able to join me. We went and spent a couple of hours at Dave and Buster's, and then we went out for dinner. That was it. I was happy with that. I didn't even want to have a cake or anything. My parents wanted to take me out for dinner. I really didn't care. I ended up having a migraine because I had to get the second dose of you know what. So I had the worst migraine on Tuesday, November 9th. And that was the same exact day that I went and saw Eternals, which was an okay movie. Anyway, not that any of that matters. I would say one of the most interesting classes I ever took at Polk State College was a college success course, which, by the way, is required for every single college you ever go to. Every college does it differently. But this particular college, I had this really laid-back professor that canceled class like half the time. And his class was on the third floor of the English Literature and Arts building, I guess you could say, though, which is also the same exact building that they have there. I guess you could say language classes, like, say, for example, Spanish or whatever. And his classroom was completely South Park themed. To give you guys a better example of how I felt in that classroom, there was a game I used to play in high school called Ioani. And the game basically is about these Japanese teenagers that go into a Japanese mansion in the middle of nowhere, and they get chased around by this purple monster. And it has a really weird, eerie feeling the entire game. And that's exactly how I felt in that classroom. I had that same weird, strange, eerie feeling the entire time I walked in that classroom and I was in there. I kept thinking about that game. But yeah, the ironic part is I spent a lot of my time near that classroom because there was an area right outside of the library that I used to do a lot of my homework at the time. And it was so quiet. I loved it. And I would go there like between classes or while I was waiting on my mom to get done work, because I would borrow her car and I would drive myself over that campus, because I didn't always take all my classes at Lake Wales. I would also take them on Winter Haven, which was about 5 minutes away from her work. And before I went and picked her up from work and we went home together, I would spend my time getting homework done. And there was some times that I was like ridiculously tired, and there was a couch right next to my work area, and I would just take a nap right there. One of my favorite classes I ever took at Polk State College was environmental science. The reason why I say that is because not only did we have a class, but we also had a lab. And for one of our labs was we had to go all the way down to South Lake Wales to a school. I'm not going to say the name of the school because it really doesn't matter. And I forgot anyway. And we went out on a boat in the middle of the lake, and we took like dirt and sand samples or whatever. And we were just, having fun, goofing off. Of course, we had this older guy who was a class clown. I don't even remember if I still have the YouTube video or not. But, it was just good old times. I really enjoyed some of the memories that I had there. I remember my fall term of 2016. That was actually the same exact year that I was in that environmental science class, by the way. I was also in a literature class. I liked both of my professors. I liked them both a lot. And they both liked me a lot, too. And because I didn't really have a lot of time between classes to go home, we used to go to this place called Bill's Cafe in downtown Lake Wales to have breakfast. And between classes, while we were there, I would just hang out with some of my classmates and we just sit around, talk, and we would eat good home cooked breakfast food. Oh my word. Good times, good times. And sometimes one of my classmates would actually buy me breakfast, believe it or not. But there was one particular Monday that I'll never forget, and that was the very first day of those two classes. And I was super excited about these classes, by the way. Monday, August 22nd, 2016. I had some time between my literature class and my environmental science class. This was before I started hanging out with my classmates. I decided to stop at racetrack for gas for my car and then go home and have some breakfast. I put on a song that I listened to at Universal, at Rock the Universe. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. Give me 1 second while I try to figure it out. I actually have it on here. But it's kind of important to know. I can like literally sing it in my head. But it's not like coming to my mind all of it for whatever reason, the name. I feel like this is it. Nope, 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 nope. I used to. I don't think that one I listened to at Publix. I remember that very well. I will find it, I promise. I really need to find this song because it's a central part of the story, and it has to do with my associate's degree. I promise. Otherwise, I would just go ahead and skip and just keep going. I wish I had remembered the name of the song before I had actually started the story. I bet you people are like, really, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? Actually, going to be leaving in about 19 minutes for Bible study. Oh, yeah, the song is called Whole New You by Sean Colvin. I might have heard it at Publix, but I know for a fact that I heard it at Rock the Universe. And I think it was my very first one in 2012. And that song originally I had good memories with. So when I was playing it, I had no idea what was going to be happening within a minute or two. I'm, just driving along. I'm coming over by this Publix on Highway 60, which runs between Tampa, Florida, and Vero Beach, Florida. And I was heading towards Vero Beach, so to speak, but I was actually heading home and stopping at a gas station called Racetrack, not a racetrack like the course or whatever. And as I'm over by this Publix, I could not see the left turn lane coming into the Publix because a semi was blocking my view. And a lady did an illegal left turn directly in front of me. Like, I've had people do turn left right in front of me, but I've always been able to anticipate it in advance. Like the other day, I had 3 people doing a left turn right in front of me. However, though, I saw them coming, so I had enough time to slow down. But this particular time, let's just put it this way. I was here, and she was here. When am I going to have time? Here, let me turn my hand like that. Like, how am I going to have time to slow down? An ex-Tampa police officer witnessed the entire accident. He said, I slammed my brakes so hard, my car did a nosedive. and I hit her dead on. Now, she heard me tell the police, which of course I had to call 911, that I intentionally hit her. And she lied to her insurance travelers about the whole thing. It took a flippin' year before we got the entire situation resolved, but that's another story. I was legitimately worried I was not going to make it to my class, but here's the good news. My dad was off that day, so he was able to come to my rescue, and I was still able to get over to racetrack. I trying to remember exactly. Actually, no, I did not make it to racetrack because I got hit before that. My car ended up going to whatever you call it. My car ended up going to one of those places where you have to a collision center. I had to go to a collision center to get repaired. The good news is the car did get it repaired. Yes, unfortunately, State Farm, my parents' insurance at the time, did have to fix the car, but we did get the money back, so that's a good thing. But anyway, on a side note, I did make it to class on time, so that's a good thing. But yeah, I was a little shaken. They said to me, they were shocked that I even came in that day. But I was like, oh, I didn't want to miss this class. And no. So anyway, I wanted to share that little piece of information with you guys, but I really wanted to talk about the environmental science class because at my pretend graduation on May the 4th be with you, May 4th, 2017, I saw the professor and she gave me a big hug that made me so happy. I had quite a few professors at that college I really liked. My remedial English professor that one of the very first professors I ever had, I used to talk to him all the time. He was definitely one of my favorites. Also, that particular professor, the environmental science professor, she was also one of my favorites. My African geography professor, as well as my just regular geography professor, we are still friends to this day. I had him roughly before 2017 or so, or around that time period. And I've known him for several years now, and I still hear from him to this day. And I'm really glad that we're still staying in touch. And then I used to talk to my history professor all the time at Publix because he actually lived in Winter Haven, and he would come in and I would talk to him, and he always liked to tell us how much he hated Publix's policy on no alcohol purchase before noon. And he would tell us how he would literally go and grab a case of beer just before noon, and he would slam it on the register right at noon and go write me up. That guy was nuts, but that's just me. So the reason why I never did finish my associate's degree officially in 2017, even though they let me graduate, my high school did not offer any foreign language classes of any kind. That's another word I was looking for the English Literature and Arts building in Winter Haven, at the Winter Haven campus. And nobody ever asked me at Polk State College, nobody in admissions or registrar's office whatsoever, the entire time I was going there. It's not like I didn't know anybody personally there. And it's not like they didn't know me either. And they never once stopped to ask me or thought to ask me, David, did you ever take foreign languages in high school? No. And then their answer to why they never stopped to ask me, oh, we just assumed you did. You don't assume stupid stuff like that. Excuse me. It's like, really? You should always ask the student, hey, did you ever, take this or take that while you were in high school? and then, go ahead and make the final judgment call from there or whatever. It's like, I'm just putting that out there. But, it is what it is. It's here or there at this point. So I did come back, and I had another professor I really liked. He really liked me too, but unfortunately, he and I did fall out of touch. But I still talk about him, to this day. He's originally from Peru, and his name is Professor Policios or something like that. Super, super nice guy. He was a little strict, but he actually cared about me on a genuine level. And he was another one of my favorite professors of all time. So this was back in late 2018. This was after I had been with Walt Disney World a little over a year. So I did, yes, finally agree to working for Walt Disney World, but you can learn more about that in my Life as a Working Disney Cast Member series. So I would highly recommend you guys watching that. But anyhow, when late 2018 rolled around, yes, I did finally go back. So at that point, I was working at Publix, I was working at Walt Disney World, and I was back in college again. So talk about a full load. And I was working roughly 50 or so hours, plus I was taking a college. So yeah, fun times. And I believe I did have like one more class that I was required to take. Spanish, one I remember taking for sure. I don't remember the other course offhand. I would literally have to go back on my college's website, which is I still have access to find out, but it really does not matter at this point. And then I took it again. So actually, I remember now, I took it in early 2018 the first time. No. Now I remember. I did take it the first time in 2018. That's right. I barely passed, but he wouldn't curve my grave. And then I retook it one more time in early 2019. And I did actually pass the class that time with an 87% B+, which was awesome. And he was all excited about seeing me in his Spanish 2 class, which was going to be taught completely in Espanol, translation in English. So, sorry, in Spanish. I'm so sorry. And I had to give him the bad news. I was getting ready to move to Kentucky at that time. And I could tell by his face he was not happy about it. But at the same time, he understood. And I wasn't even able to go back to college for at least a year because I did establish residency up here. And, I remember the other classes I was taking. I had to take 2 math classes. I had to take topics of math and explorations math. I bombed both classes. I kept wasting money on these stupid math classes. And I was like, I'm never going to get anywhere. Kay literally had to take me to the Lake Wales Park just to get me to concentrate. The only thing I wish that we had known in advance when we were going down to the Lake Wales Park, which is in downtown Lake Wales, whether or not there was going to be a food truck day that day. Because there was one time she took me down there. I had major ADHD back then. And we went down there one particular day, and there was food trucks there. And of course, I kept looking over and getting distracted by the food trucks. And Kay's like, pay attention. Kay was tutoring me for free, not just in Spanish, but in math too. And for her birthday in 2019, I don't remember how old she was turning at the time, but it doesn't matter. She's in her late 50s. That's all you guys need to know. She gave up her entire birthday, for the most part, just to tutor me, just to make sure I could pass my classes. That is what I call a true friend right there. And that evening, I bought her a steak dinner at Whispering Canyon Cafe because she had given up so much of her time just for me, and I wanted to make it up to her. But back then, I also had a lot less bills, and I was a lot better with my money, versus now I'm starting to struggle a little bit more, but I need to get better control over that. I wouldn't say wasn't exactly great back then either. I mean, come on, I used to eat at Red Robin every week. I used to eat at Golden Corral every week. I used to eat at Cece's every week. But that's because I was hanging out with TJ all the time. I used to go to Universal and Walt Disney World every single week. I'm starting to get a lot better these days about not always having to go out and have a good time. But it took a long time for me to figure that, one out. But when I when I finally signed up for Eastern Gateway Community College, which I found out through Meyer, so I would honestly give credit to Meyer for the last 7 classes that I had to take, because if it wasn't for Meyer, there's no way, no how I ever would have found anything about Eastern Gateway, and who knows if I would have ever finished my associate's degree. So with that being said, they basically originally told me I had to take 5 classes. One of those classes being a science class. So the very first 2 classes that I signed up for was an English class, and I'm trying to remember the other one. I wish I remembered. That was back in late March of last year. And then I took anatomy and physiology last summer, and trying to do that and working the insanity of the Ark encounter was not easy. Talk about staying up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning every single day and only getting like so many hours of sleep. No wonder I end up coming down with a very, very, very bad sickness, which we're not going to speak about the entire month of July. But that gave me the excuse to focus harder on my anatomy and physiology class, and I was able to pass the class with an 87% or 88% or whatever. So I'm not going to complain, I guess. But it did suck being stuck in the house for an entire month. If that says anything, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. So you guys use your imagination what sickness I had. And then that fall, when I moved into my parents' house, unfortunately, I took a speech class as well as the other one was a college success class. Both A's in both classes. As far as I knew, I was done. And then they informed me that I'd take 2 more. That was it. So my options were like this, and this. And I chose a U.S. history class, the formative years, and introduction to theater. I was allowed to take 2 more. Had to be 2 more electives. That was it. I was like, well, that's not too bad, but I was still disappointed. Well, the good news is it was a winter, and the Ark was closed Sunday through Tuesday every single week for the first 10 weeks, but the classes didn't even start till late January. So I was determined to get through these last 8 weeks of my classes, and I was willing to work harder than ever, especially considering the history class was honestly the hardest history class I've ever taken in my life. Harder than anything I took back earlier in college, which I have taken history classes before in college. I just forgot about it. And I think I even forgot about it when I was taking this history class. I was like, I haven't taken history classes since high school, but I completely forgot that I did actually take 2 history classes earlier in college. But at the same time, and all fairness, it was like, let's see here, 5-6 years ago, give or take. So maybe even 8 years ago. But that's not as bad as over at least a decade ago, at least. But here comes the good news. I got an 88% in the history class, and then I got an 83%, almost an 84% in the theater class. So now I just have to sit and wait patiently for my associate's degree to get mailed to my parents' address. I'm already part of Phi Theta Kappa. The National Society of Collegiate Scholars has been bugging me forever now to join their honor society too. But I'm like, nope, I'm already part of Phi Theta Kappa. I'm good. So there you go. There's 8 years roughly of my associate's degree history as well as memories and experience. So as I said earlier, what's next? To keep working on bettering myself for the ministry, and who knows, I might eventually have the opportunity to pursue my bachelor's in the ministry, but we will see what God has in plan. Is it planned for me? I'm at least willing to do guest services at the Ark Encounter for the next year, so anything can happen in a year. But until then, I will see you guys in the next vlog. I have to head to Gateway Community College in Edgewood, Kentucky for a Bible study with Alan Green. So I will see you guys either tomorrow evening or the next time I have some free time. I'm back to my YouTube series of my high school days again now that I'm done with high school. Sorry. Wow. Why did I say high school? Did I just go back a decade? Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next vlog now that I'm done with college. And I hope and pray that you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a great day. Peace out. Live stream over.